Oh wow, it's just like television. It's just we're live.
Oh yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Hi everybody. Smooth open. Hi. Okay, we're doing introductions. Welcome to the last panel of LudoNarraCon 2022. All the merch booths are sold out, and hopefully you're not on your way to your car. Let's do introductions. Hi, I'll start. So we are all members of a project called We Are OFK, which we'll talk about for 45 minutes. I'm Luca Le Fae. I am the lead singer of the band OFK. Nap. I'm just going to go in clockwise from what I see.
I'm Nafisah Tung. You can call me Naf. I am the co-art director, character designer, UI designer, a fashion designer, everything visual designer for We Are OFK.
Oh, my pronouns are he, him.
Oh, mine are they, them.
Omni.
I'm Omni, or Omniboi. I'm the composer for the series, so I do all the score for it. And my pronouns are he, him.
Claire.
Hi, I'm Claire. I'm the co-writer of the series, and my pronouns are she, her.
Claire's wearing a great bolo tie.
Gotta have a bolo tie.
Thank you for coming to our panel about how to thrift good clothing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is actually thrifted. This is a thrifted shirt. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. This is Goodwill.
Wow.
I should have worn a thrifted outfit.
Okay, so I will explain for a moment what We Are OFK is, and consequently why we're all here talking about it. So it's basically two things. First, it is there is a band called OFK. We make music. We have one single out now. Check us out wherever you listen to music. OFK. And then a game or an interactive series or both about the formation, like the backstory of the band. So it is a music biopic story about OFK. And everyone here worked on it in some capacity, but what we're here to talk about, generally speaking, is the particular weird things and challenges of being a team that is composed of real people, human beings, and folks like me who are virtual characters, and how we like operate as a team and a collective band, and what that is like. And the game isn't even out yet. It comes out what have we said? Soon. Definitely this year. Which means we're also still kind of figuring this stuff out. So this is going to be a fun panel for us to like literally decide how we do this on the fly. So let's go back around, and maybe if each of you could talk about or what you did like in more detail on the project just for like a minute.
Or going clockwise order again.
Let's do the same order again.
Yeah.
Sure, I can go first. So I'm Naf, and I designed the characters and designed most of their fashion styles, and like I was kind of like their stylist in general. Yeah, like when I was approached for this project, I thought it was just a game, and it was slowly revealed to me over time that it was like kind of like a virtual thing. We had these virtual characters, and like we were going to be interacting with them sort of like they're real. And it took a little bit, the trials and tribulations of making them all feel kind of like balancing the fine line between having them be memorable characters for an interactive series, something that would be popular with gaming fans but also popular with music fans, and not step on toes of other virtual bands and things like that, but then also having them feel kind of like more authentic and real. A big thing that kind of was constantly sort of a style goal for us was to make our characters feel like not as big superstar as a lot of virtual bands tend to kind of go. We wanted them to feel more like indie pop, like they could be your friends, especially since the narrative series is kind of about them sort of like the behind the scenes, like the making of the band. And so we didn't want to do anything too like, oh, global superstar, like, no like Ariana Grande styles and stuff. So which is something I love. So it was a little hard sometimes to rein it in, because I'd be like, oh yeah, like, like Balenciagas. And like, no, they can't afford that yet. And I'm like, oh crap. So it was an interesting like balance, kind of just constantly trying to figure out like, oh, we have to make sure that they're memorable. We have to make sure that they have these defined silhouettes from each other, that they have like color palettes, but they didn't feel too like too curated. It was just like it was really fun because I love making characters feel very real, which was like I guess kind of like a high concept for us to a degree. Yeah.
That's so cool. You're mine now.
So dope.
Ooh.
I
Thank
feel
you.
real.
You are real to me, Luca. I love you. In fact, there was a while on my blog where people who have been following my art for a while, when they found out about OFK, they would ask me about like the characters, and I try to talk about them like they were real people that I worked with. And I was like, I feel like my fans think I'm going insane. Because they'd be like, which was your favorite character design to work on? I was like, Jay is my great friends and we get along really well.
That's good.
When I dress my best friends, as I often do.
Friends at work.
Luca.
That'd be cool though to be like your friend's stylist.
I kind of am.
You are.
Yeah.
Like in real life, yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny that Naf ended up doing style, like, because you did like a fashion tutorial for a bunch of people on the team.
Yeah, I did. It was kind of like a team bonding, kind of just like extracurricular thing. I was talking about fashion design and stuff. I do generally work as a concept artist in games, but I have a huge love of fashion, and I think that's kind of what caught the director and producers of We Are OFK to me, because I did that a lot. So it was kind of like I kind of knew the pipeline for games and like interactive media, but I also had the kind of more like fashion oriented sort of like passion and stuff like that.
Yeah. Cool. Let's keep cycling around. Just talk a little bit more detail about roles on the team. Omni.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like I said earlier, I'm the composer for the series, and so I was like making a lot of character themes and like location themes and stuff like that for the series, which was really fun. Because when working with like video games or even movies, there will be a lot of, the theme of the movie, or like the theme of Jurassic Park, or the theme of all these things. But then there's also characters, and since the series is so character focused, it was cool to get to try to flesh out these characters like sonically and like melodically, which was really interesting because obviously working on it and like getting to know these people and getting to know what their wants and desires and fears and stuff like that are over the course of the like composing, the like composition process was interesting because like I, as a musician, write music all the time. I write music just like in the series there's musicians, but you're never really writing your own theme song. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but like songs usually have a purpose. Yeah, right.
Omniboi theme song.
Like writing themes for people, it's interesting because like even for me, it's like I make songs all the time, but I don't like make a theme for myself or like for my kitchen or for my job or something like that.
Really, Omni, every song could be a theme song.
Exactly. Well, and so it was really cool like having that creative process of like looking at what these characters looked like and what they dressed like and what they sounded like, how they talked, and trying to figure out how that sounds as a song, and then if the setting changes and they're sad, how does that sound as a song? And like it's really cool because just like anything else, like visually we see art and we can see it change through time. It's easy to see when a character is sad or when a person's going through a hard time or they're upset or they're determined, because we can see facial expressions. But it's also pretty easy to determine that stuff through sound too, to hear when something's going wrong or when something's going well, and it's like going to be different for everybody. So it was really cool establishing like a theme for a character, and then if that character is going through the tumultuous, like obstacle riddled life that they have, to not just write, oh, here's like a sad theme or here's a challenging theme. It's like, no, I already have established a harmonic family of themes for them, and then just trying to bend those to kind of fit whatever the setting is at the time.
That's cool. That's so cool.
That makes I have something to say about that, but I want to wait till Claire's turn and then I'll go. That's really
But yeah, That's like, I guess, a more in-depth look on what I was doing, and it was really cool because like when you're writing a theme for somebody, it does get intimate at a certain point, you know, because you are like scoring anybody's life or anybody's actions. You kind of, to some small degree, have to like live through it yourself too. And so it was
like method composing.
Yeah, honestly, like there's times where I'm, like, I would be like getting like headaches or like a panic attack or something like that because I'm writing music for a very stressful situation. I'm just like, oh, this has happened to me before.
Yeah.
And that's really cool because I think most people, even if you have like friends or whatever, and you're relating to somebody like a loved one or somebody you care about, it's a different experience when you're having to, and I'm sure Naf agrees with this, when you're at some point having to like create around an experience. It's different than just like hearing the experience and then reacting to it, where it's like, oh, I'm kind of taking part in this in a strange way.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Omni, just like having to go get yourself into a breakup just to get in the mindset.
Honestly, yeah.
That's why I do it. That's the only reason.
Yeah,
that I am constantly.
Wow.
Rejected.
Feel that shit. You hear the game, like
Claire. What a great transition, Claire.
It's time to talk about breakups.
Oh god. Okay, so is it time? Do you time for me to discuss the?
Yeah, talk a little bit about your role and stuff.
Well, so yes, me and our fearless leader Teddy, we wrote the game together, and it was well, I guess it was a, you know, I'm never quite sure how we're saying it these days, but we met these characters a while back, and then Teddy started writing, had the story laid out, and I came in 2020 and 2019. Oh my god, 3 years ago. 19. And then we started taking the threads and forming them into 5 nice episodes, and it was like, this game, I was really drawn to it because it's just obviously, I'm an artist living in LA, and this game is about artists living in LA. Many of us are artists living in LA, and it's about, and more importantly, maybe it's about, people trying to become people while also having friends and having a community and becoming people through that community. And, I love stories about friendship, and that is the thing that really resonated with me the most. I love, obviously, of course, all the other the music elements and everything as well. I don't know like anything about games or music, and so it's like really new experience for me. And just like getting to talk with Naf and Omni and like hang out with Luca and like just hearing about these worlds that like I don't know anything about has been such a treat the last few years, and I like so admire everybody's work. It's like truly been like people, and the content was just really cool, and then the emotions at the center of the story were what really kept me coming back for more. Just gobble that shit up, like a lot of friendships, friends fighting, friends hooking up, spoiler alert. It's been I'm a writer kind of like at the beginning of my process and my career, my journey as well, especially back 3 years ago. And this story is about 4 people coming together who are just trying to like figure out what kind of artists they want to be and whether they want to work together. And that's just like, that's something that especially young artists have to figure out all the time. And so it's been such a treat to just work on and work through these characters and the problems that they're struggling with, while also struggling, working through those issues in my own life. So yeah, it's been awesome getting to tell that story, and Teddy and I work really well together. It was not like work at all. It was like us getting together and just like pitching around ideas and hanging out, and then we'd go off, do our own separate drafts and then edit each other, and it was just a really wonderful collaborative process, and you never feel like you're alone
You bring up you all brought up stuff that I want to like pull back around since I'm faux moderating. Although feel free to just step on me, step on my words.
Whoa. I was like,
step on my words.
Okay.
No, Claire, you brought up like an interesting thing, which I guess we should just get into, which is maybe the big question around narrative and this project is like, you were talking about like, oh, I don't know how we say it right now, and like, oh, this is how we met, and like, what is canon, and like, I think that's the weirdest part of operating this project. Like during development, as soon as we announced it, and between announcement and release, and certainly when the game comes out, it's gonna get like extra hard or weird. But like, I guess, well, okay, so I'll say, since I didn't do me, that like I'm Luca, I'm the singer of the band, and then also since the game tells our story, I worked with the team in terms of like being designed and being styled, and also like laying out our story. So I think we should just like break down the walls a little bit to be able to talk about this, which is like, obviously, we have a canon for the project that very specifically integrates the development team in with us, the virtual band, and all the characters whose stories are told in the series. And so when we first started, we were like, how do we forecast the lies, and like, how do we fool people? And like, they'll never know. Like, my skin is as natural as a oil of Olay commercial. Hyper realism. And over time, I think for a lot of like, some reasons logistic and some reasons just like storytelling wise, we've melted that, right? Like, what were there any moments for y'all that have been kind of awkward and that like have shifted your thinking about like how you talk about us and like the project?
For me, it was like a lot of the art team, because a lot of what we were doing was going so directly into bringing you all to life. And so we kind of like were playing around with it for a while at first, like, where instead of calling me like the character designer, we'd call me the stylist, and then the animator, we'd call her like the acting coach, and then like but then we'd start getting into more technical things, like one of the artists, she's a tech artist, and what she does is she kind of like she doesn't exactly do the animations, but she makes animations possible. She kind of streamlines them by doing like all the like 3D like skeleton things. And so we for a while were like, what's Jane, the masseuse? She's fixing all their bones all the time, like so there was like this That's moment fair. Where like the art team, we kind of like playfully come up with like our titles for like this, like the biopic version of like the real life fiction of it all. But after a while, it was just, I felt like the ones who had the more technical jobs, the things that they were actually doing started to feel a little like erased to a certain degree. And that's when I think Teddy, kind of our leader, kind of like talked about reevaluating it and not wanting to kind of like hide the work of everyone, and also make it easier to move on from this project and find work in the future. So like, what was the last project you're on? I was the masseuse at OFK.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
I have no idea that she works on all this incredibly like intricate like technical art and stuff, and it was yeah,
I think that was like, I think credit was the big initial motivator in starting to blur the lines and to admit to ourselves the obvious, which is that like everyone knows that me, Luca, is like not real, or like I am, but like I'm not, right? And just saying that because nobody fucking think, can we swear? There's no one here to answer that question. We're gonna do swears. We got a shrug from
okay.
We're doing swears. Yeah, like Naf, you brought up like Jane as a masseuse, but also things more directly like with Luna Shadows and Tom Powers, who wrote and produced the songs, and with Teddy, who sang the songs, like just having to coexist and acknowledge that those two things can be true at the same time. That like, I'm Luca, I'm the lead singer of the band. Teddy's voice is my voice. And the songs were written by Jay and I with Luna and Tom, and Luna and Tom are written into the story. Right. But also, we all know that I didn't write the songs, or Claire, you were talking about the story and like how y'all developed it. And, you know, the kind of like canon version of it, or the storytelling version of it, is that you met the band and heard our story of what happened, and then we shared our experiences and our text messages and things that you could pull from to write a script, to write a biopic.
Right.
But obviously that's also a fabrication. It's just a fun way for us to play together and live in our little universe, I guess.
Right.
That's fair. I think one of the like very peculiar, and I didn't foresee this at all, which is funny. I probably should have, is like when the game is announced and it's very obviously about a band and it's super music focused. Like the question I got was like, "Oh, are you the band?" Because like I was making music for the game, and I was like, "Oh," and I was like, "No, I'm not." And just seeing the like confused faces, and I was like, "Oh, I don't even actually know how to explain what's happening." I was like, I did the score of it, and they were like, "What is that?" And I was like, "It's the music, but there's like a difference." And so they were like looking at the band perform, you know, in like the video, and I was like,
Omni?
yeah, they were like, "Where are you for this performance?" I'm just like, I am scoring, and this is the band, and I'm scoring the life of the band. And just seeing like, because obviously like to me, especially being a composer and like understanding like score versus soundtrack and all this stuff, I'm like, this makes sense. But I think the combination with it being a virtual band and it being a band that people weren't aware of, you know, until super recently. Whereas if there was like a Journey documentary and somebody was like, I made the score for the Journey documentary, they'd be like, oh, okay, I'll be able to tell the difference between like, you know, like Don't Stop Believin' and like this cool like swelling orchestral score that goes over. I'm like, oh, okay.
I love that.
Yeah. But it's definitely a hurdle I didn't foresee at all.
It's well, and it gets strange too. Like we were just in the studio last weekend, like for real, and we were doing a version. Our friend Nicole is playing like, can I talk? I can't really talk about this. Whatever. We were recording some music, and one of Omni's pieces was being like reimagined, and so Omni came by. And the same thing, like the engineer was like, "Oh, you know, are you in the band or whatever?" And we have to have that conversation around, like, yeah, kinda. Like I think about this in the context of the life of the band after, because the whole project is kind of designed to tell the story of this band and then have the band continue to exist in maybe more episodes or more music. And in the context of touring, it's like, well, we are all in the band in a, you know, like we are kind of the, you know, you think about like
roadies.
Well, I think about, and I hate to use them as a first example because there are so many virtual bands, but like with the Gorillaz, right? There's a documentary about them called Bananas, and like it focuses mostly on the two like kind of core people, and one of them was the songwriter vocalist, and the other was like the artist, art director.
Oh, right.
And they are effectively the band, you know, except then they also have collaborators. So like we are all the band.
All the band.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's actually. No, Claire, you first.
Oh, no, I'm just gonna say that you know, I'm not even a musician, and this similar thing happened to me recently, where my friend was like, "Claire, are you in a band? Like, in music?" And I was like, you know, I'm not in a band, but I am. You know?
Yeah.
So that I was like, I guess it's working. You know, people are.
That's cool.
Good.
Are getting what we're putting down.
And it's I feel like it's more fun this way. Like you know, very early on, I think when like I was first talking to you, Claire, and to Teddy about story stuff, it was like we were going to be so secret. Like we were going to be behind a curtain. Like or you all were going to be behind a curtain. It was just going to be like me and Itsu and Jay and Carter, like the band members, and then you all would just be like the secret puppet masters. And like that's not as fun because it gives us less to do, and like honestly, fewer people for me to talk to on Twitter.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's actually very fair.
It's true.
It's actually funny though, Omni, that you brought that up because originally, Teddy had written one of the members, Itsumi, as being a cellist, and then later she was switched to a pianist because it was just better for pop music, right?
Yeah.
And I already knew you were on the team, and like as a kind of like creep moment, I have been a fan of yours for like a couple years.
Oh, whoa! Thanks.
Yeah, so, like, when I found out,
aside.
I was like, oh my god. So like when Itsumi was changed into a pianist, I was like, is Omni gonna like play all her parts? I'm so excited, and then like that's not how it worked. And I'm like, that makes sense. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, and there is like a few points in like the process of making the series where, yeah, they're like looking at Itsu. I would look at Itsu and I'm like, Itsu's a pianist, and sometimes I would have to divorce my playing from Itsu's playing. Because even like background wise, we have two very different piano backgrounds. And I'm like, I would never be able to play piano the way that Itsumi does. And like vice versa. And it was like mind breaking for a second, like looking and being like, oh, we're different. That's like that's a different artist.
Yeah, I've sometimes designed characters like for myself who draw, and like I sit down and like try to figure out their style, and it is like brain breaking, where it's just sort of like, okay, well, their background's different from mine, you know. And it's sort of like, this one's a tattoo artist, and I have to figure out her specific style of tattoo illustration.
Oh my god.
And like, you know, I'll be like, okay, she uses a lot of pointillism. I'm like, I hate pointillism. Yeah.
It's so weird. It's such a weird thing for any artist to have to make a creation and then make their creations
do the same thing as you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it's like I have a question. I have to write a writer.
Oh yeah, writing about writers sucks. Especially when it's like you have to write about a writer that's like good. I'm like, this person. I can't do that.
Or like, I always wonder when I watch like shows or movies about like best-selling authors and their lives and stuff, like fictional ones, not like you know, not like biographical ones. I'm just like, how did the writers like do that? Like, did they just like, you know?
A lot of confidence. Like,
right?
This person won a bunch of Pulitzers. Like,
wait, I have a question for you, Omni, because like talking about like playing and like being asked if you're the pianist or thinking about that, which is like you've played in other bands, right? Like besides your solo project, like you've played keys in bands. So like, have you ever done any like touring or shows with a band? Because like when a lot of artists tour, for example, like a solo artist, right? Like we talked about Ariana Grande, right? Like if she tours, there's a shit ton of people
there's
who are on that tour and in her band. Right. But they're not Ariana Grande. Then there's actually kind of an interesting parallel and precedent for the fact that like we're all in the band, but we're not, where like there are people behind the name of the music project. Do you like, have you been through that before in that way?
I definitely have, in like really cool ways, and then in like not so cool ways sometimes, where I think like there's a problem where like if I go on with another artist sometimes, I'll have this separation from their like art. And sometimes it's really great because, you know, as we all know, like when you're really connected to art, sometimes like some bad things can transfer to you from it, just like pain or like needing it to be good. And sometimes having that like healthy separation like allows me to engage in things a little bit freer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. It's like like working on certain games that I just don't care about. Versus like trying to like write my own comic and I'm like crying every night over like, trying to make it fit.
It's such a thing. And so like that, you know, that can be really cool and freeing sometimes, where it's like I get to make a thing for somebody, or I'm making music that like exists in this world, but in a weird way I don't exist in that world, like as me the person. And so it is like this really cool separation that I do enjoy a lot of perks of, you know.
I feel like in that way, like you can be less precious about things, and like you know, like
oh my god,
like it's like you're not, this isn't like my, like I don't have to put my whole self into this, you know. I'm doing this for like the service of like somebody else's project, or like honestly like this brings me back to what like the kind of framing of this as like telling this band's story like a documentary honestly kind of helped to the writing process a lot for me. Like it was like, oh, like, you know, this is like a story that already exists and I'm just like telling it, and it's not like it was nice to feel like, and also, you know, the fact that I came on kind of at a slightly not like later stage, but like, you know, they had a lot of the story done or like planned out already. So it was like I was able to like work with a lot that was already there, and it wasn't like sculpt from the ground. I totally feel you.
Must be nice to not be trapped in this box of
Oh, it's super nice. I imagine like whoever Ariana Grande's like bass player is like happy they get to walk away at the end of the day.
There's nothing happier than Ariana Grande's bass player, you know?
Yeah, right. I feel bad because I have no idea who this is, he exists somewhere. He or she exists out there, and like I hope they're having a good time.
If you are or know Ariana Grande's bass player, please extend an invitation from us to hang out and maybe
like,
tour.
Angrily in the chat, like you think I'm happy?
We will happily be the tiny. We'll be the tiny font on the tour poster below Ariana. I would do that.
Oh, heck yeah.
So another thing that came up earlier that I wanted to focus back on in the context of this is like having like working, writing music, writing story, developing characters, like that is kind of like what is the expression? Write what you know. Like it's a story about like making art or making things, and also about like relationships in a way that is trying to be relatable and trying to not be like KDA pop stars or whatever. And some of y'all talked about like finding yourself in situations that like felt like the story, or maybe even for like Claire and Omni, like literal places, right? Because the story takes place in our city. I don't know. Has that been weird at all? Like, I know I felt some of that where I'm like, am I experiencing episode 2 all over again?
Yeah. There's been some moments where I've had like very real, because I'm like listening to the game while I'm coming up with the score for it. And like, I've either relived a thing or I've felt very real frustration for like, you know, one of the characters because of my own weird experiences or attachments. I'm just like, man, of course they do that. Like, this is exactly the type of stuff that happens. And I'd be like upset for a second. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like, I need to finish this score. I'm like stopping the score, like listening to two people talk. And I'm just like, this is horrible. I hate this.
It takes, I should preface by saying, like, obviously, like, it is known to be, hopefully for those of you watching, like, it's known to be healthy. Like, you're not supposed to write, you know, it's good to have some distance from the work, right? And we all try to do that. And like, none of us in the band or none of the characters in the show are like one-to-one, you know, from anyone on the team. Like, there is no one-to-one.
Yeah.
We are all like, sort of a big blob.
Yeah. This project was like so collaborative. Like, there were certain things that, like, as the designer, like, I would introduce something, and between like Teddy and, you know, other people on the team, sometimes we would like change the characters a little bit. Like, we were just talking about this before we actually went live, that I actually chose like everyone's zodiac signs. And like we got so lucky because Claire loves zodiac too, and I was just like, because at first when I had started suggesting it, the Teddy was like, I'm not really into zodiacs, and I'm just like, that's fine. Well, I've chosen like a couple for you, and like I think this person's definitely an air sign, and this one's an earth sign, and like I would prioritize one of these two. This one's better for that. This one's better for that. You know, and like it's just like, you know, and for me, like, as I designed the characters, like Omni was talking about like when scoring their themes and stuff, you try to put yourself in that mindset. For me, I do that kind of classic animator trick where I use a mirror when I'm drawing expressions, and I will like make expressions into the mirror when I'm drawing them, and making the expressions for the character was like this huge thing because we needed to set up this VTuber-ish tech thing. And like it would kind of be a mix of me expressing it at myself in the mirror, but then also like I would pull from certain like facial features or tics that people would have. Like, for example, like some of the characters like would have, like, they would smile differently from the others, and I would base it off of like people I knew, or like, you know, people like this and that. Like, one thing about Luca that I love is very prominent Cupid's bow, very cute, you know, like Luca's Cupid's bow. It's like, which is based on someone I knew and stuff, and like all of these things. And it just sort of like, I just felt that this team was very collaborative. Like I just felt like everyone was listened to, and we could all bring our ideas into it. The animator, for example, they could kind of give them different mannerisms that I didn't design out, but I like that better, you know, and like it just kind of like made them become richer and richer because we all were pouring like these very authentic feelings into them and stuff.
Thank you for these lips and this hair, honestly.
Yeah. The hair color too.
They're kind to me. Yeah. Not an easy hair color to keep up, but
Lavender. I came onto the project like right. I mean, Naf had already designed the characters and like the main cast when I came on, so it was like so easy to like seeing the designs. It was like, oh yeah, this is the person that they are, you know. And so like it's so collaborative and made my job very, very simple.
I'm so
seeing Itsumi with her like backpack and like top knot, like it's like we know what that girl is, and like obviously, you know.
Yeah. It was cool for me to like kind of seeing how they were getting written after the fact while I was like working on other things, like, you know, more technical stuff like importing art and things like that. And then like I would get to see snippets of the script and I'd just be like, oh my god, it's perfect, you know. Like,
that's cool.
So good. Yeah.
That's so great. Like that's funny. There was a GDC talk this year that our performance director Chris Brown gave, and Chris and the director Teddy were talking about wanting to do rehearsals with the cast so that the actors' performances could be taken into account before the script was locked, so that like the way they were performing and embodying us would inform like the way that the writing was finalized. And it's just so funny to see that that happens in like other channels of creativity too. Like I was actually going to say, like, so I mean that's one example with writing and Naf, like, you know, when you visualize the characters and visualize me, it was like, okay, now I know who I am. But also like Omni, it's funny now because like I've done a couple like promo videos and stuff for the band, and when I do those, sometimes we put those to music, and I'll talk to the team about like what piece maybe from the score we could use as backtrack, and it's just fun. Like it's just funny that also your music then changes the character, like especially like your themes for me, like the Luca fantasy theme and like Luca sad stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I am like that, huh? And
like, yeah,
it's interesting. It's even weirder because we've been working on it for a while, so like sometimes those themes will be so old and established to the characters in my head that I'll forget like making them. If that makes sense.
Oh, right. Like, it's just that way.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, this is just the song that
plays.
plays. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember it not being that way.
Yeah. Like, sometimes I'll, like, pull out my first, like, concept art for them, and I'm like...
Oh, crap.
You know, and I'm just like,
oh, I want to see that, actually.
Like, that's not what Jay looks like anymore.
It's such a magical, you know, where you really feel a progression of, like, you know, the project and your own art, you know, like
yeah.
Quick timeout. We have 5 minutes, so if there is anyone in the chat, I know we'd love to take a question or two. Or if you're on Twitter, you can add us at OFK Band, and maybe we can take a question on Twitter as well. OFK Band. We'll keep an eye out. Anyway, sorry to cut you off, Claire. You and your bolo tie.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, yeah, I totally get Naf and I mean, I think that's just like it's always a great moment to feel like, oh yes, these characters have like progressed and changed, and I don't recognize them anymore, which is like a good thing. Like start, yeah.
It's cool. It is cool because it's like the cement settling, you know, and everything and you're just like, oh, this is just what it's like. And I feel like I have like the score that I'm writing for it, but then I exist. There's like an Omniboi vinyl behind like Luca. Like I have music in the world, but it is weird. It is weird, but I like it. It's a good weird.
Yeah.
Oh, I moved some stuff around on the wall here because I don't remember. Naf, did you design these? But like
I did.
We have a wall. We have a wall in the living room, Carter and I, that has objects that reflect a lot of people on the team. Although there's no NAF object. NAF. I'm curious.
I didn't. Yeah, I forgot. Me and Jenny don't really have.
You're in
that
the green room. You're in the green room.
Yeah. Me and Jenny are a rap duo on your laptop.
That's so sick.
Oh, I wish I had my laptop. I would show off my stickers. Young Nanny.
Young Nanny.
But that's Claire's fanny pack over there.
Classic pink fanny pack. Gotta have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah, no, I mean, Omni, I mean, the music, I mean, am I allowed to say that I just got to see all the episodes?
Yeah, you can, yeah. Tell the truth. Like, tell the real.
And the music, the music is just like, I feel so hyped playing the game, and the music.
I cry when I hear Omni's songs.
Oh, wow. I'm glad.
Like the intro will come in, and I'm just going.
Oh, we got a question in the chat.
Oh, no, I can't see the chat.
I'm gonna read it out. Name a riff. Oh no. Name or fet. I'm gonna read the question. I'm curious how the team has organized the production process these last couple of years, where their team members specifically focus on producing. That is a great question. Yeah. Mix. Yeah. So Michaela Foote, who was the video games producer and now has transitioned into being the band manager. So mostly she works with Sony Music Masterworks, our record label. And like for the recording session last week, she booked the session and stuff, but she was also the games producer. So as I understand it, the way it worked was at the very beginning, like from the project's funding, Michaela and Teddy started building the team from there. And then everyone in this room came in fairly early in the process. But it was very much like a grow and then shrink production in a very like heavy on Michaela's way in terms of onboarding people, because we like onboarded a lot of people and then offboarded people as they finish and stuff. And now we're sort of in the weird middle space where like we don't have like a game to work on, but sometimes we come together for stuff like this or for little efforts. Like Naf, you've been designing our vinyl. Oh wait, nope. There's no such thing. No such thing. Not a thing. If we were to ever do merchandise, maybe Naf. Cool. That's fine. We're telling the truth here today.
But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Anyone have any cool mix stories?
I just want to say, as a musician, I know you can get really distracted and super focused on art that like you honestly need somebody to just remind you that you need to like release things and like, eat and stuff like that. And so that was like, for the longest time, I was like, what does a producer do? I think for my entire life up until the past like couple of years, I was like, what does a producer do? What does a producer do? Like when I'm looking at a movie and I'm seeing like, producer, just like, I don't know what that person is. And then, like working with Michaela was so sick because like things made sense. Otherwise, I would just be creating and like vomiting music into a void.
Yeah.
And so it was like really, really nice and was so one-to-one with like a band manager or like an artist manager where I was like, oh, this is super relatable to me. I get it.
Yeah. I'm hoping someday Mix wants to talk at length about some of her process because her background is in music artist management, and she's managed artists like Passion Pit and Haji and Alvin Risk, and so like that was her background and is a lot of the same work styles, I guess, as like an artist manager, musician manager, as producing a game, but obviously a lot of technical differences and stuff. So yeah,
Mix was great. Like she is great.
It's great.
Like present tense. I've worked with some very like experienced producers in games before, but I think Mix was the first time I really felt like same with Omni, like I felt the true importance of what they're supposed to serve on the team. Like the way that she was just on top of the schedule and she was always made it very clear what everything was for. And her communication and just her dedication and just she was always there. And like honestly helping us keep track of our mental health too, especially because the team was largely remote, and then the pandemic happened and things just got pretty chaotic. And yeah, so Mix was like, she was wonderful.
A couple things. Just thank you for that question. Someone in the chat asks what game this is. This is We Are OFK. So it's the music biopic about the band OFK. I guess this is going to be me wrapping up. We got another question on Twitter, which is just asking if there's going to be an album or something. And yeah, so this game is going to be coming out this year. It will be 5 episodes and 5 songs from the band. So as we release the episodes, we'll also release the songs from the band, which culminates in an EP from OFK. We will also be releasing Omniboi's score at the same time, or maybe I think when episode 5 drops. And they will be weekly episodes. So once it starts, it's gonna be coming
Very
in fast.
Cool.
Anybody have any last thoughts before I dance us out?
Shook dance.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Happy to be here with everyone today.
Yeah, this was cool.
It was nice to finally talk about like lifting the veil off of things, because I've been so doggedly like determined to like keep up the whole like they're my coworker friends.
Yeah, I just don't say. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm allowed to say. I just don't say anything. I'm just like, I'm working on something. It's coming out at some point.
Yeah, we're all figuring it out as we go, but I think we have realized that like keeping secrets about it is not the move, that it's fun to play and be friends with each other, and it's fun for me to be friends with all of you, but that shouldn't conflict with just saying the actual stuff that happened and the actual way that you all made us real. And this Cupid's bow. That's it. Okay, so that's it. That's a whole LudoNarraCon. We're closing the show out. Thanks everybody for a great couple days of panels, and I believe the sale of all the things keeps going for several days. Please wishlist We Are OFK on Steam. It's also coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. We've announced that. And yeah, we are OFK. All right, bye everybody.
Bye everyone. Thank you for watching.